There we go. We're live. We are going to get into the podcast, guys. And today we're talking about taking the leap. And you know what? We're going to get going pretty quickly. So as you're tuning in, make sure that you stick around. We're going to do some Q&A after the podcast, but I'm going to get into it very, very quickly. So if you are wondering why I don't answer your questions right away, it's because we're in the middle of the podcast. I appreciate you all tuning in. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the number one show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I am your host, Kenny Dussault, and today we are talking about taking the leap. Now, I want to tell you guys a little bit of a story, a little bit of a story in my own life where this applies, and then basically go through, what you can take from my situation, because I think it's really easy to, tune into something like this and hear someone tell you, you got to believe in yourself, you got to take the leap, you got to do this or that, but, not really feel like someone's coming at it and not understanding your situation, right? So a couple of years ago, when I hired my business coach, this was basically the story of how it happened. So I was on TikTok, and all good stories start with I was on TikTok, and I came across this guy. He had blonde hair, he had a lot of energy, he was yelling and screaming. But he was giving business advice, how to grow on social media, how to sign new clients, things to talk about with potential clients, things not to talk about, that kind of stuff. And, I'm listening to this guy, and at the time I'm a struggling business owner. So, I'm listening to this guy, learning about building business. And I was like, okay, kind of like some of the stuff that he's saying and makes sense. And, I started trying to apply some of the social media stuff that he was talking about, and it kind of started working. So after a couple of weeks of following his stuff, I sent him a message on Instagram with literally no intention whatsoever of, joining a program or doing anything like that. Literally just to say thank you, just to be like, hey, man, I used some of your tips and it helped me out. I appreciate it. And so I sent him this message, and he got back to me very quickly. Thanking me for the kind words, and then just started asking me about the business I was running, how long I've been doing it, how many clients I had, kind of what my goals were for the business, all of that kind of stuff. I'm talking to him. I was like, yeah, it's been tough. I've kind of been up and down a little bit, and bills are I'm in a tough spot paying bills and stuff like that. But we're making it through, and I'm learning, and bit by bit, we're getting there, right? Kind of giving the old same words that I tell everybody that was asking about the business. And as we were talking, I was laying out kind of where I was in the business. And he was just sort of letting me know about, oh yeah, I've actually seen similar clients, and we were talking about, a couple of his clients, and he showed me that he was like, some of the problems I was dealing with, he'd help people fix. Right. And in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's good to know that those solutions are out there. And then, I was asking him a little bit about his programs. And as I was asking him about his programs, I was always asking about, the things he did. He told me, he talked about it, and then immediately I objected. I was like, nope, there's no possible way I can do this. Money's too tight. There's no way I can make it happen. And the reason that I objected, the reason that I didn't make that investment in my business was simple. At the time, yes, number one, money was tight, but the real reasons were deeper than that. The real reason was, number one, fear of failure. What if I give this guy all this money and it doesn't work? What if I give this guy all this money and my business stays the same, and now I feel like an idiot because that little tiny bit of savings that I had built up is out the fucking window, right? And I know a lot of you guys feel that same way. You're working towards becoming an athlete. You're working towards building this amazing career that you want, but you're like, man, if I get help, if I get someone, on my team to help me build this career that I'm after, what if they don't help? What if I give them all this money and they don't help? What if I give them all this money and I stay the same? And so that was my biggest fear, right? Was fear of it not working, fear of failure. And immediately I was like, yeah, no, there's no possible way I can do this. And as we started talking more, I came to the conclusion. Basically, I came to the conclusion, we were talking a little bit more. He was asking about goals for the business and everything like that. And then I kept giving them the reasons, well, what if this happens and it doesn't work? What if that happens and it doesn't work? What if this happens and I can't break through? What if that happens and, I'm not able to make any progress in the business? And he asked me one simple question that I want to ask all of you. All he asked me was, what if it does work? What if it does work? What if you are able to break through? What if you are able to stop struggling financially? What if you are able to make these changes, impact these athletes that you say you want to impact, build the business that you actually want to build? How about that? And literally that was enough to make me go, you know what? I got to give this a shot. So I sent this guy more than 90% of what I had in the bank for the sole reason of, what if I actually took a chance? I started this business to start working with higher level athletes, to start having more of an impact in my industry, to become better known, to be able to help more people, all of these things that I kept telling myself. I was like, what if this guy actually does have the answers? What if he is able to help me with all these things I've been struggling with? What if I'm not some fucking loser that can't actually make this work? What if I do have more potential than I've been able to see? It was an interesting thought and it felt fucking good. So I sent this guy more than 90% of the money I had to my name, which was a terrifying feeling. I didn't sleep, I think, more than like a couple hours for like 3 weeks after doing that, because it was scary. Like I said, it was thousands of dollars, money that, if it didn't come back, I might not have been screwed, but it was going to hurt. And in the last couple of years since doing that, something amazing happened. And this is the amazing thing that happens when you do take these risks, when you do take these chances, when you do take the leap. What happened was I started actually believing that I could, right? Before, I always looked at the reasons why it wouldn't work, the reasons why I shouldn't, the reasons why, but like, what if this or that goes wrong and then I'm not able to do the thing. But after making that investment, my first thought was, well, I better make it back, because otherwise, fuck, I'm going to look like an idiot. But then as I started working on, okay, I've got to implement the stuff that this guy's telling me, or else I'm going to be an idiot that just wasted a bunch of money. I started realizing that I'm like, hey, it's not that I can't do it. It's that I didn't know how. It's not that I can't, build a better business. It's that I didn't have the guidance. I was spinning in circles trying to figure shit out on YouTube when this guy had the answers. And in the first 3 months, I tripled the size of my business. And within the next year, I doubled it again. And then in the year since then, I've added another 50% on top of that. And I don't tell you guys this to say, hey, look at me and how well I'm doing, which, like, don't get me wrong, that does feel good. But the reason I tell you guys this, and the reason that I think this is so important and I talk about this kind of stuff so much, is because this is what you guys do to yourselves. Right? You guys will make every excuse in the book, find every reason in the book not to get the help you need. I have athletes in my DMs every single day, some that I know are watching this literally as we speak, that tell me, they're struggling so much in their training. They've got the problem. They can't make it to the third round of their fight without gassing out. They're always injured because, they're always overtrained and they're having all of these difficulties and all of these things. Yet then when we talk about, hey, the solutions and the things that, they would need to do and how we can help them do that, they go, oh, well, there's no possible way that I could, put any money towards that. And guys, I hate to break it to you. Well, actually, I don't. I used to hate to break that to you, but now I just wholeheartedly believe it. You're not going to find these answers searching things up on YouTube. You're just not. There's going to be good information out there, but there's going to be bad information out there. Even there are things that I try to give away as much free stuff as I can, give as much information as I can, allow you to, be able to get some results simply off of watching the stuff I put on Instagram. But even by just having all of the information, the way I see some people put it together isn't the most effective thing, right? And if you want to be successful at the highest level, especially in the world of combat sports, it's like, it takes more than just what you can kind of throw together on your own. just like I was trying to build the business on my own, and I was struggling and trying to figure things out and doing some things and seeing a little success, and then it fell off, and then kind of not really knowing what to do. And then I got guidance, and it actually put me on a path that helped me succeed long term. When you guys don't have guidance, you're doing the same thing. You're spinning in circles. You're trying to find some information. You're seeing a couple of conditioning sessions and going, oh, I'll do this. And then you feel a little better, but then you get stuck because you don't know where to go from there. And that's where the key of having a coach comes in. That's where the key of making the investment comes in, right? You start getting the actual path. You start understanding not just the elements of what to do, but how to put it together. Because you guys will come in and talk to me and say, becoming a pro athlete and making my living from my sport and, living that life of freedom, like this is more important to me than anything. This is the most important thing. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And then when I talk about, hey, we have coaching programs that you can join that will give you all these answers to see this kind of success, like John Meehan over this shoulder, who is 3-1 since starting to work with me. And Mac Larson over this shoulder, who's 7-1 as a pro and is 16-2 since working with me. And all of these other hundreds of athletes that we've been able to help over the years of doing this. When I tell you that we have these solutions and we have these answers, immediately you come out with the excuse. You come out with the reason. Well, I can't do it because of this. Oh, money's a little too tight. Oh, I'm living in the wrong city, and that's why I can't reach the next level because we don't have the right gyms in my city. Or I'm 10 out of 10 committed. I would do it. This is definitely what I need, but it's just not the right time right now. Guys, when is the right time? There's always going to be a reason not to make that jump. I easily could have sat there and told Brian at that time, my business coach, and said, your program costs 95% or 90%, whatever exactly it was, of what I have in the bank right now. If I send you the amount of money for this program, I'm going to have $700 left to my name. And that would have been a legitimate reason. But right now, I'm very confident I would be in the same spot, going to make it through the month, hoping that, something happens and I was able to see success, versus being in a position where now that amount of money is fine. I don't have to worry about that anymore because I made those investments, because I made those sacrifices, because I put the hours and the dollars into it, improving in every area that I could to separate myself from the hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of other coaches that quit this industry every year because they don't know how to find clients or they don't know how to build a business. There are people in my industry that I promise you are phenomenal coaches that are not doing this anymore because they weren't willing to make those changes. They weren't willing to make those investments. Just like there are athletes listening to this that are phenomenal athletes in the making that will never see the potential that they have because they're not willing to make the investments, make the sacrifices, and do the things required to see the level of success that they want. They're willing to show up to the gym. They're willing to put the work in, which, don't get me wrong, massively important part of it. Never going to take away from that. But they're not willing to go above and beyond. They're not willing to put their money where their mouth is and hire the people that they need to give them the guidance that they need. They're not willing to make the move to the new city to be around the coaches that they need. They're not willing to do the extra things that actually separate you from the pack. They'd rather sit back and give the reasons why they can't, give the reasons why it doesn't make sense, give the reasons why it's not the right time, versus actually stepping up and actually putting their best foot forward to give themselves the best opportunity they can. And guys, let this be the moment. Let this be the moment. Let this be the thing that finally makes you say it's time to take the leap. Because I promise you, showing up to the gym every day and putting the work in is step one. You're not the hardest worker out there. I promise you that, no matter how hard you're working, because there's someone in the gym down the road that's working just as hard, or someone in the gym, 3 blocks away that's working just as hard, or in the next town over that's working just as hard. The way you separate yourself is not being the one in the gym the longest. It's by getting the most out of that time, getting the proper guidance, and being able to be put on a pathway to actually seeing the success you're after. So guys, that's it. That's all. If I can leave you with anything, take the fucking leap. What's going on, guys? We're gonna do a little bit